यूट्यूब चैनल। आज की वीडियो में हम काफ़ी सारा कंटेंट कवर करने वाले हैं। there's a lot of topics, तो ज़्यादा टाइम आपका वेस्ट नहीं करूँगा। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, माय नेम इज अक्षत शर्मा। थैंक यू सो मच फॉर क्लिकिंग ऑन दिस वीडियो। एंड आज की क्लास में हम बात करेंगे कि बेसिकली एवर फेल्ट लाइक एवर फेल्ट लेफ्ट आउट from my friends group, because जो भी आपके friends हैं, be in school, be in college, all of them are like scoring better marks than you, or they're similar to you in every other aspect, but it's just this one thing that they score better marks than you. Is that something that you suffer from? Is that something that you have dealt with? Because I definitely have, and I know how much it sucks to be labeled the guy that doesn't score good marks. Because I was just as smart, I was just as active, just as attentive in school, just as active in classes. I was answering just as many questions when the teacher asked. But it's just that this one thing that I was left behind in is scoring good marks, which is completely different than being smart. Being smart doesn't, scoring good marks doesn't automatically indicate that you're intelligent. Okay? Scoring bad marks, however, does in society's eyes indicate that you're just a dumb child, just a problematic child. In my case, I was not, obviously, I wasn't dumb. I wouldn't be doing this. I was stupid, but I just I didn't have the inclination towards studying. I didn't find the value in studying that I found in other areas of my life, like in extracurricular sports or something like that, gym, going to the gym, stuff like that. So basically, I didn't find value in that era. Okay, but in 2019, I was that person. In my ninth class, I was being that person. And it sort of amplified when ninth happened, because there was this new concept that we had to repeat the class if we scored extremely bad. So they started failing us in this class, in ninth class. And I did not want to fail, but I also did not want to study either. So what ended up happening was very I was very extremely confident in myself that I wouldn't fail, and I just passed. Like, if I don't remember my marks, but I remember the feeling, I remember the fear I had. So the passing marks was like 33% or something, and I scored like 40% something, which is, not very safe. So, and the teachers were saying like I should repeat the class anyway, because if I don't have the foundations for 10th class, I won't be able to pass 10th class. And failing in 10th is way worse than failing in ninth, let me tell you. So all of that was happening, and while I was being this stupid kid who needs tuition or who needs extra classes, I decided something. I decided that this is enough. I'm not going to be this kid anymore. I'm not going to be the ugly duckling anymore. I was pretty popular in school too. It wasn't like I was being outcasted or bullied or anything. I was fine. Like, people liked me. Everybody liked me. It was just this one thing that was bothering me, because I wanted to be best in all areas, right? I wanted to look good. I wanted to be popular. I wanted to be friends with the most popular kids. I wanted to participate in all the activities, be it giving speeches or sports or anything. I just wanted to be the center of attention in anything, every single thing. And this was this one thing that I just could not get past. This was this one barrier that I could not get past. One dragon that I couldn't slay, you could say. So in 10th, I finally decided that I'm going to turn things around. I'm going to change this. I'm going to flip this around. I'm going to completely change my life. I decided I'm going to get my 100% this entire year, and I'm going to see what happens. I'm not going to be worried about the marks or anything. I'm not going to be worried about scoring extremely good marks. I'm not going to be worried about my stream. I am purely going to focus on studying, and everything else will be sidelined. I didn't do participate in any sport or anything in 10th class. This is what happened. I decided that I'm going to score 80% marks in my board exams, which is quite bold for someone who scored 45% in ninth class. And my ninth class was pretty bad, like it was below average for me. So my normal average was like 55, 60% at max. 70% was considered extremely good for me. And in 10th, I decided that I'm going to score 80 marks, which was, for a normal kid, it wasn't that big of a deal. But considering my averages in my last class, I was deciding score like 40% extra marks. And if you take like normal, my average, it was like my max average was like 60%. So I was deciding that I'm going to score 20 extra percentages. Just quite bold, may I say. So, anyways, I decided I'm going to do that. I did what every single other kid would do, probably, and probably you have to. And this is a mistake. I'm going to tell you right now. I made a timetable and I created a schedule. I timed my entire days, and I decided that I'm going to come back from school. I'm going to study for these many hours, and then I'm going to watch TV so that I can like sort of recollect myself. And then I'm going to study for more like 3 4 hours. This was my routine that I decided I'm going to do. And obviously, I didn't do that because a kid that does not study at all cannot just sit still and just study for 4 or 5 hours after deciding that he's going to study. However well Bob you cannot do that. Okay, I'm not discouraging you. I'm just giving you like a reality of what you can expect. This is the real world. This is how things work. Okay, you don't just build habit like that. And especially like hard hours, like studying for hours straight is not an easy task. Okay, but in 10th, I eventually ended up studying for like up to 8 hours a night. I'm gonna tell you how I did that. So stay tuned. Anyways, I decided that I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna stick to the schedule. I started watching videos on how to focus better, concentrate better, score better marks, how to take effective breaks, how to eat food that's gonna help me focus, and what eat foods that are gonna make me sleepy and not study as well. I did a lot of things. And finally, what ended up happening was the first exams that was supposed to be held, like the FA months, if you call it. So, whatever those exams happened, and I scored extremely poor. Scored, I barely passed. And in one subject, I actually failed. In, I think, chemistry, I actually failed. So, that was like a punch to the face because I realized that this is not going to work. Was doing something wrong. And by the way, when I say that I wasn't sticking to my schedule, it means that I wasn't doing what I thought I was going to do. I sat and studied for 3 4 hours or whatever I decided I'm going to do. Okay, it just didn't produce the fruits that I thought it would produce. All right, so let's move on. So after that, I discovered some things. Because when so I'm a very spiritual guy, I'm a religious guy. So basically, I'm gonna be real with you. This is how I am. So I'm gonna come out to you. I basically prayed to God. I was like, please give me a solution, give me some direction, give me something that I can like hold on to because this is not going to work. And just like that, I discovered like 2 3 videos on studying that I'm going to share with you that completely changed my life, that completely turned my visions, my goals, my mentality, and my expectations of math and my habits that I built through studying and all. I also took a lot of help from my parents. My mother is a firm believer in manifestation, and she told me to visualize myself holding that report card that says 80% marks. And all of these things, the maybe the accumulation of all these things, maybe I was just extremely lucky, but all of these things worked for me, and I cannot imagine any reason why it would not fail. Okay, I have written down everything from those 2 videos that I'm going to name and then I'm going to put them in the description. The first one is Study Less, Study Smart by Marty Lobdell, I believe. He's a professor in some university, I don't remember the name of the university. And another one is How to Absorb Textbooks Like a Sponge. These 2 videos are extremely useful. The first one, the Mighty Loader one, it's an hour long, and I do not think that most of you will be able to sit through a lecture, a literal college lecture, which is 1 hour long. I did, but I don't think you will be able to. That's why I have written down each steps, each everything that he has taught in this little video, so that I can compress and sort of give it to you straight. At the end of this, I've also written down things that I found useful that I think were the most valuable in these in this entire sort of like an encyclopedia of that period. Okay, the absorb textbook like sponge is basically a guide to how you should approach a textbook and how to read it better, how to grasp everything better from the textbook. It's a very amazing video, but it is only 8 minutes long. I believe everybody can watch it. If you don't have the time, watch it at 2x speed and just understand how to read the book, how to properly use the book. Okay, so here we go. These videos taught me the following principles, which solved my problem of having to revise again and again, which caused me to waste a lot of time getting distracted by studying the topics that I found valuable. This is a problem that I had, and I believe most of you will have that. Every time you revise something, you feel like you're studying, you don't feel like you're studying for the first time, but you're not able to decide it to yourself. You have to look at it once, and then you're like, oh, I need this. That is Marty Lobden explained this very beautifully. He said that when that happens, it's not that you remembered it, you recognize it, right? So when you look at a person and you're like, oh, I know him from somewhere, that's recognition. Because you don't know their name, you don't actually know, you don't have any contact. You're looking at the face and that's recognition. So when you're looking at the pages and you're like, oh, that's why I remember, you don't remember it. Okay, you recognize it. If I give you questions and I ask you to write the exact same thing, you won't be able to because you don't remember. You didn't memorize. Okay, so I'm going to tell you how exactly you can completely eradicate that problem because I had that problem. Okay, and that led me to believe that I actually remember those things. That was a very big delusion that I have. I looked at it once and I was like, oh, I was doing papers, so I'll tell you this exactly what happened. Okay, I was doing question papers and I was like, I marked at the end of it. These are the questions that I could do. They were quite long. And then I looked at the book and then I read through the pages and I was like, oh, this I remember. And then I didn't put any effort in it. I moved on and every single question I did like that. And then the same question came in the exam paper and also me to write. Because I recognized those questions, I didn't remember them. Okay? So please understand the difference. So I'll start telling you what the points are. So there was a study done in Michigan University. Hundreds of students were taken, and they were asked to basically mark down whenever they said to study. They were asked to write down the time they said, like they sit down to study, and whenever whatever point of the study session they feel like they're not being as productive or they're not being as effective in memorizing. Basically, whenever they feel like they're wasting time right now, they were supposed to write down the exact time whenever that happened. Okay, this was done with hundreds of students and it was done with college, university students. Okay, so for most of the people, like the average was 25 minutes. 25 minutes, they could focus and be productive, extremely productive, like in their own judgment. They were being extremely productive and they were being very nice. After 25 minutes, their concentration, their focus, their effectiveness, their productivity started to dip down. Okay, and these were college students, mind you. So they have been studying for like 12 years and more for by this point. And I was in 8th class and I had decided, sorry, I was in 9th, 10th class and I had decided I'm going to study for 4 hours, 8 hours a day. Obviously impossible, right? Now you understand. So I told you this little study because you need to understand this was like properly done in a university. This was an actual experiment done by scientists. They took everybody and they timed everybody asked them to do, and there was no placebo involved in this. So this was a great study done, and you need to understand that 25 minutes is like a average. For you, it may be more, it may be less. Okay, identify what that 25-minute window is for you, and keep that as a study book. Okay, in a while I'm going to tell you how to utilize this study in your favor. Okay? So Professor Marty shared his personal experience with his girlfriend. She decided she's going to study 6 hours a day, and she did, and she failed every single test. She scored worse than when she decided she was going to study for long periods. Why is that? So some context, okay? Professor Marty shared a little bit about his girlfriend. Basically, she was like bad in studying. Um, so imagine that you get 5 marks. Okay, you have 5 subjects, and for each subject you get like 1 point. So in the entire exam, you get like 5 points. If you score perfectly in every exam, you get in every subject you get 5 points. The Professor Marty's girlfriend was scoring 1 point, and then she decided she was going to like actually study. And then after she did those long periods of 6 hours of studying, the next exam she gave the exam, she scored like zero. She failed. Okay, so why did this happen? Let me tell you. First, she only did effective studying for like the beginning 25-30 minutes of the 6 hours. Okay, the next 5.5 hours, she was like being dreadful. She was being tortured. She was torturing herself basically. And because of that, 5.5 hours of actual torture, sorry, she started to associate negative feelings with studying. So the next time she sat down to study, she studied even less because she went to like she sat down to study with dread in her mind. She was like, "Oh shit, I have like 5.5 hours of absolute misery in front of me." Because when you can't study, na, when you have a book in front of you and you can't study, like you can't produce anything, you can't memorize anything, you can't retain anything. It's absolutely terrible because you're like questioning yourself, you're doubting yourself, your self-image is ruining, and you're getting frustrated because one line you have to read like 10 times to actually understand what it is. Right? So it's dreadful, it's miserable, it's torture. So she actually did like 25-30 minutes and she wasted the rest of the time. And the next time she studied even less. She studied like 20 minutes and then it became 15 minutes and 12 minutes and 10. You can understand what happened. So again, what should you do instead is after 25 minutes of effective studying, take a 5 minute break. After 25 minutes of studying, you don't need 25 full minutes again to recharge your energy. 5 minutes is enough. And after take those 5 minutes as a reward. Tell yourself that you did good, that you did very well, and that you deserve this break, and that this break is going to do you good, and that break is actually going to do you good. So what you're going to do in that break is you can do anything. You can do push-ups. You can play a simple puzzle game, whatever it can be. Don't get on a call with your girlfriend, even if it's not going to get like sexy and all. Just don't get on a call with your girlfriend. Don't get on a call with your friends. It's going to be extended. Okay, it's not going to be five minutes, like exactly 5 minutes, and you hang up. Okay, don't waste your time. Uh, do push-ups. You can walk around the house. If talk to your family members just for 5 minutes and then get back to studying. If you're studying late at night and nobody's is awake, you can just go to the balcony and just enjoy the wind for a while. Just look out, not think about studying. Maybe strategize what you're going to do next. Do some push-ups, do some yoga, do some breathing exercise, meditate for a bit, listen to music. Play simple games, single player offline games like Temple Run, Subway Surfers, Cut the Rope. These things, what they do is right at the moment you stop playing that game, you stop thinking about the game. Right? It doesn't matter that much. Right? It's not like there's some goal that you're trying to achieve in that. It's not Fortnite, it's not PUBG. Right? As soon as you keep the phone down, it's done. It's over. Right? So get rid of all these things. Just if phone is a problem for you, don't open social media, obviously. And if as soon as you put the phone in your hand and you try to open Subway Surfers or some shit, and you accidentally open Instagram and you're there for an hour or two, just put the phone in the other room. You do a lot of different things with your time. Like have some water, fill your water bottle, um, go walk downstairs. You can do a lot of things, right? Let's move. Uh, do not study in your bedroom. When you study in your bedroom, you're basically defiling that place. Bedroom is for sleeping, right? Dining table is for dining. When you study on your dining table, you're confusing your brain. You're like, am I supposed to eat? Am I supposed to be hungry? Am I supposed to study? What am I supposed to do? So when you're sitting there and studying, your brain's like, I'm supposed to be eating here. So it starts to make you hungry. And you're like, crave. And then making a sandwich or you're making chai, eating biscuits, some shit you're doing. Okay. Don't study in your dining table. When you study in your bedroom, same thing. It's like sirens calling you. It's like I want to sleep, you want to sleep, you get sleepy after a while. And two things can happen, both of them are bad. First thing can happen is that the you get sleepy while studying, so you're wasting time. You're not really studying, you're not focusing, you're sleepy. Right? Another thing that happens is that you associate that you study so much in that bed that you associate studying with bed. So you're not able to sleep there, which is also very determinant. Do not study on your bed. Period. Um, you can keep a different. You can create a study. You just need a chair and table. If you don't have these things, study on the floor. If you don't have a floor, just study on the floor and keep a chair in front of you and study on the chair. Okay, there's a thousand things you can do, or you can buy a simple table off of Amazon. It's not going to be very expensive. If you dedicate that table just for studying, that's even better. Okay, just keep it different. The room that you study in, keep it just for studying. The room that you, the table that you study on, keep it just for study. Okay, that's it. Next thing that you need to be aware of, use this simple psychological trick to like improve your study habits. Okay, take a lamp, any lamp. It could be study lamp, it can be a bigger lamp, whatever, and only turn it on when you study. What happens is whenever you study and you turn that lamp on, you're associating study with that lamp. So whenever you turn that on, your brain goes, okay, it's time to study, and the study mode turns on in your brain. Okay, so the association is an important part. Second thing you do is whenever you're taking a break, turn that light lamp off and turn whatever else lights you want to turn on or keep it dark. Whatever, if you want to meditate, keep it dark. It's fine. Okay, what this happens is as soon as you turn the lamp off, you're like off study mode, and then you're able to calm yourself. You're able to relax for a bit. Okay, and time your breaks, please. It's very important. It's very easy when you're studying. It's very easy to take like long breaks in your plan. I cannot stress this enough. How many times I have like accidentally taken 2 hour breaks? I have accidentally taken a 6 hour nap, 6 hour nap. Okay, so when you're studying, just focus mainly on studying and just take time yourself when you're taking a break. Um, I was talking about the lamp. So whenever you turn the lamp off, your brain goes off studying mode, and then you're able to relax. And then when you turn it on, you're like back on studying mode. So this on off method, it's very good. It's like you're able to better focus, right? You're able to create a sort of switch of focusing on your in your brain, if that makes sense. That's a very good trick that you can do. Another thing with lights, in the concept of lights, you can do is keep a spotlight on your study desk. Okay, whatever you're studying, it's a book, it's a laptop, whatever it is, keep a spotlight on it. If you have like a hanging light, if you have chandelier and it's not too bright, you can use that. If you have ceiling lights, you can use that. If you have a lamp, you can use that. What this does is it brings whatever it is, it makes a spotlight, but basically whatever you're studying, it brings focus into that. Okay, if the rest of the room is not completely dark, it's a little bit darker. It creates enough differentiation for your brain to understand that this is what I have to focus on, and the rest I have to ignore. That's it. Acts like blinders for process. It's the same thing. You won't be distracted from whatever it is in the background or the foreground, the environment basically. You're able to focus on what is important. Okay, let's move on. Uh, I'm not going to expand very much on this, but don't do rote memorization. You know what Ratamana is, you know what rote memorization is, don't do it. Just don't do it. Okay? Basically, don't do it for every single thing. Rote memorization has its place in memorization, that's why it's considered rote memorization, it's not retro rote and all that, but it's not that effective. Okay, because you need a foundation, you need a neve before you get to 10th class and 11th class and 12th class, because it's basically 10th class is 12th class, but for kids, if that makes sense. So basically, whatever you study in 10th acts as foundation for your 12th. Okay, so you need to retain whatever you study in 10th for 12th. Okay, so don't do rote memorization because rote memorization always goes in short term memory. When you understand the concept, it stays in your long term memory. I remember everything that I studied in psychology and a little bit what I studied in history and nothing that I studied in pol science. With Paul, I mostly rote memorize. In history, some things I would memorize. Psychology, everything I understood the concept of. Okay, and it's been 2.5 years since I left school. So there are two types of things that are broadly there are going to there are going to be two types of things that you're going to be required to memorize. There's facts and there's concepts. Okay, so I'm going to explain what these things are very quickly. Femur is the largest bone in the human body. Okay, this is a fact. There's no questioning it. There's nothing beyond this. There's nothing less than this. You have to understand. You have to remember this. Okay, and only this much. What is why is it the longest? Why is it shaped like that? What is its function? How does being long affects its function? Okay, that's a concept. When you what is a fact and how or why is a concept. Okay, so these are the things that you're going to understand. Now, another thing you may have noticed is that concepts create a lot more questions than facts. So my personal advice would be concentrate more on concepts, and then automatically when you understand the concept, you'll memorize the fact. Okay, so don't focus much on facts, focus on concepts. Okay, another thing is if you absolutely have to differentiate like these are facts and these are concepts, I'm gonna do concepts, I'm gonna do facts. You can do rote memorization of facts, and then you can understand the concepts. Right? Because I told you concepts are way more important than facts, and yeah, basically, you understand. So, another thing, there is a difference between recognition and regulation. I think I've covered this. I don't remember if that was another video, like I short previous to this, or I said this in this video only. There's a difference between recognition and recollection. You know, when you look at a person, you can tell that you've seen them, and you don't know from there. That's recognition. What's most That's what most of you get when you like every time I've revised and you're like, oh, I remember that. No, you don't remember that. You recognize it. Okay? So if a question has asked you, because if I question you on the same thing, you won't be able to tell. Because you don't remember it, you recognize it. Test to know if you remember something the next day or not. Okay, so this is a very big thing. Basically to see for yourself if you're going to remember something the next day or not, because this was a very big problem for me is I had to revise everything like 2 3 4 5 times. So I wanted to eradicate this problem completely. So what helped me is that like basically segregating things into concepts and facts, and understanding concepts and then memorizing facts and stuff like that. These things have definitely. Another thing was I tested myself a lot. I took a lot of quizzes for myself. So I tested myself to know after reading or memorizing a particular concept, you go to the next, memorize that, the next part, and then try to look away from the book and try to recognize, recite like properly recite whatever the last concept was about, right? Not the correct one that you just memorized, but the last one. And if you're able to recollect that, then good news, you will be able to remember it the next day also. Revision is very important. Um, when I say that there was a problem that I had to revise it like 4 or 5 times every single day, it's it, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. My case was bad because I had to completely re-memorize it again. That's a bad thing because that means that I didn't memorize it the first time. Okay, so you cannot get away with not revising. Revision is very good. Revision is like you get a quick look through the pages, you read the first line and you read the last line, you remember whatever was in the between. Okay, that's revision. I had to completely like re-remember everything. That is not good. But you will have to revise. Like the next day, you'll have to re-revise that. But if you're able to tell the last thing, like what I just said, if you're able to do that, then very good, you memorized it. You actually understood what was in it and you memorized. Okay? You won't forget it the next day, but you'll have to revise it, or within 3 days you'll forget it. Okay, let's move on. I'll quickly go through these because I feel like the video is getting too long. I don't want to waste a lot of your time. If you don't sleep enough, it affects your memory. Make sure to get enough sleep before your exam, before you start studying again. Naps are absolutely great. Um, if you can, take like if you are like if you feel completely burnt out, if you're like I'm not able to study anymore and you absolutely have to get some studying done. When you feel like this, I recommend you just go to sleep. If you absolutely cannot do anything, then I recommend take a nap. Half hour, 1 hour, 2 hour doesn't matter. Just take a nap. Okay, it's the best thing. You'll just because whenever you sleep, you're like revising your subconscious mind is revising everything like 10x speed. Okay, so naps are absolutely wonderful. They're your best friends when you study. Okay, so another thing, best way to learn is to teach. I taught a pillow for 2 years. It would have gotten 90% marks. I repeated everything again and again and again. Whenever I revised, I told it. Whenever I was memorizing, I told it everything. I taught it everything. Okay? The more action you associate with memorizing, the more activity you associate with it, you remember it more. If you're able to say it out loud, if you're able to walk while studying, if you're able to teach it to somebody, that's amazing. If you're able to get feedback after studying, like if you're teaching a real person and they're able to ask you questions, so you're getting feedback, that's even better. I taught a pillow because I was studying at night alone and basically it was horrible. But I was studying at night alone and I was teaching a pillow, so it worked for me, it may work for you. Another thing you can do is write down, make notes, make as much notes as possible. Notes must be like a compressed version of the book, of the whatever textbook you're studying. Notes should be like a compressed version of that. I made two sets of notes. One was like basically you can see three sets because one notes were just when I highlighted everything from the book and then I underlined what was even more important and I wrote down what I thought was necessary to write down that I wanted to remember properly, and then I made a compressed version of that. So in this version, the newest version, the latest, smallest version, the most compressed version, I wrote it just words. It was just random words that I felt like extremely important. Okay, it didn't even form sentences, but that helped me a lot because I had now two assets that were working in my favor. Very, very, very powerful. Um, Okay, how are you supposed to utilize textbooks? Because textbooks are not novels, they're supposed to be used in a particular way. Okay, so there's a method called SQ3R. I don't know if you know this, I did not. It means survey, question, read, recite, review. That's how you read or use a textbook. How it works in action is skim through the pages, just look at pictures and diagrams and headings, and ask yourself, it may seem weird, doing this activity may seem weird, but to actively actually recite these questions and ask yourself, um, like what this picture is about, what this heading is about, what this word means. You actually properly ask yourself these questions. These actually help because these create curiosity, and you're actively looking for these things, or the answer to these things, right? When you do that, you're automatically also asking for questions of those automatically asking for answers to those questions. Okay. Lastly, you read and then you go back to concept and then recite. Like what I told you, you read and you go back a little bit and you see if you understand or not. You understand or grasp the concept or not. You don't have to be right like line by line, but if you basically can rearrange the words or use your own words and basically get the same answer, that means you understood the concept. Okay, at that point, you don't even have to memorize. You understand the concept, you can answer any question related to that concept. Okay, or you could teach, explain a teddy bear or pillow. Lastly, review. How much of it did you get right? Okay, so quiz yourself. At the end of the at the end of the textbook, there's always questions. Try to answer all of those questions. If you cannot, then mark or write down the answer to whatever questions that you're not able to get. And then revisit those questions, revisit those topics. Because those topics were also important if they were in the back of the textbook. That means the author recognized those topics as important. That's why it's put it there. Right? So understand all these things. You have to think as author because the writer of the book, somebody wrote the textbook also, right? If it's CBSE textbook, somebody created that book, right? Um, so you need to understand the thought process of the author. If he wrote the concept, if he wrote the book, and then he gave you questions, he recognizes those questions as important. So you need to absolutely be doing those questions, right? Another thing, use mnemonics to remember facts. I'm not gonna explain what mnemonics are. Basically, make things stupid as possible, and you remember them more easily. Okay? I remember the entire periodic table with the help of mnemonics. You can look up what mnemonics are. You'll probably find mnemonics or whatever it is that you're trying to remember. Okay. There is infinite tools on the internet. There is infinite gadgets for you to use. There's a lot of things to help you through your journey of 10th class. Okay? So apply all these things. After I applied all these things and religiously studied hard for months and months like this, I finally got the results I wanted in my hand. So in the beginning of this video, I told you I was aiming for 80%. My mother told me to visualize it, and I studied and I worked my ass off. I wouldn't say I gave my 100%, but I definitely 100% gave my 95%. Okay. And I did that for months and months, and I created good habits and I changed everything. And finally, I got 80.4%, exactly as much as I wanted, no more, no less. Okay, I could say I got 85% because I didn't. I couldn't say I got 80% because I got a bit more. So basically, I got 80% nonetheless. So yeah, things changed after that. When exams were over, I felt dirty when watching TV, as if I'm doing something that I'm not supposed to. I'm doing something wrong. Studying felt effortless. Memorizing things became so easy. My studying block was when I started, it was 15 minutes, and by the time I was finished, it was like 2 hours. So everything was going amazingly. My friends were surprised at me getting 80% because they never even imagined that I would get 80%. I was not a bad kid. I was not the idiot kid of the class, but I was definitely the odd one out. Like, because I was hanging out with the smart and popular kids, but I was behaving. I was also behaving like them, but I was scoring marks like the degenerate kids, right? So there was something odd. Teachers were also very concerned. They're like, "What the fuck is he doing?" So things changed. I was now completely in the segment, and now I was better than them because um, I was good in sports. I was good in. I had a newfound confidence. I was participating in every single extracurricular because it was 11th, and I was also, now scoring good marks. When I say extracurricular, I mean Corona happened, so extracurricular meant like online debates and all. It was bullshit, but whatever, it worked out. So, however, I promised myself to take a break from studying after religiously studying in 10th. In the entire year, I studied very religiously. I created notes and I did everything perfectly. So, I wanted to reward myself. This was also a very good thing because my mindset was that I'm going to study very religiously, very focused for an entire year. And then I'm going to give the rest of my the 11th class, the rest of the year completely to myself to enjoy. And I did exactly that. And that reward also helped me a lot because whenever I was studying, I was thinking about the reward that the next year I can just not study at all. The studying was not a happy experience for me at all, right? So my friends were like surprised and everything was perfect. Here are the things, everything that I did. So this was my entire routine that I was following. Okay. So as soon as I had dinner, my parents went to sleep, and I made a cup of black coffee, just black, no sugar, no milk, nothing, just black coffee. Not even it wasn't even warm. I just mixed it in water and just chugged it. What that did is when you drink like a little bit of it, it just makes you kind of sleepy. It makes you lazy. It doesn't give you that coffee gala boost, right? So I decided I'm gonna just chug it, and it did help me stay awake for the rest of the night. Also, I studied at night. You can study in early morning, but I don't recommend it because there's too many distractions. Your parents will call you any single time because you are a child. They may need you, even if you tell them to not disturb. You may have siblings, whatever. If you study at night, no disturbance, absolutely, right? This is what I did. Um, read a chapter, recited it to the pillow, reviewed what I missed, and then revised again. So I did a single chapter in like, it took me like 2 3 hours to do completely finish the chapter. Like if you ask me anything from the chapter, I'll be able to tell. Okay? After that, I made notes on the things I missed to make sure I don't forget it again. Walked while reading out loud to remember the notes. When you walk now, what happens is even if you're walking like two and fourth in a room, Everything else in your vision goes hazy. Everything else becomes blur. So you're only able to focus on your notebook because everything else is moving around you. Right? So that's a very powerful thing that you can do to better remember. Walk fast. Like pace. Don't just walk slowly because that then it won't be easy. Do like brisk walking in your room while studying out loud. And if there's a ceiling light, that's even better. You'll be able to focus like nothing. It'll be like magic for you. Okay? Took a test at the end of each chapter. Make sure you know everything. Memorize the chapter by heart. So the summary though I was like I could recite the summary. It was on my fingertips for every single chapter. Summary is very important. Summary gives you like a quick revision of the entire chapter. ठीक है so remember the summary. It's very important. Keep a goal for finishing a chapter, number of chapters before the end of the study session. Do not do more, do not do less. If you do more, then you're just fooling yourself. You won't be able to do more than you planned. If you do less, then you're just not utilizing time that you could have spent studying, right? If you do more, then next time you won't be able to because then your brain will be like, you cheated me last time, you cheat on me again. Okay, so do no more, no less. Just understand your capabilities, accept them, and do just as much as you can. Okay, take a 5 minute break after every 30 minutes. This is what I do. All these things are things that I did. Okay, I would suggest them. I would advise them that you follow as many of them as you can. But I would also say that create. This shouldn't be rigid. Like this is not. These are rules. This is what I did. These are things that work for me very well, and there's no reason why it wouldn't work for you. But structure it according to you. You may need different things, right? So after every 30 minutes, I took a 5 minute break to recharge. I usually what I did is I just laid down because it was night time. I was kind of my neck would hurt and my eyes would hurt. I'll just close my eyes and listen to jazz music for a bit. Um, every single time I was studying, I played soft jazz music in the background with low volume. So it was just like a soothing, calming noise in the background, and it didn't make me sleepy. If it makes you sleepy, don't use that music, obviously. Jazz music, it was like a soft background noise. It was very good. It was very calming. And it helped me focus. So soft classical music or soft jazz music, it helps you focus better. Or you can use binaural beats. 40 hertz is what I recommend. You can search on Google what binaural beats are. Basically, it's a frequency of noise that you're made heard. It's different in one ear and it's different in another ear. That's what I call binaural. Binese too. So binaural. Um, you can try it out if you think. I didn't like it that much. Probably you're a kid, you won't like it either. So I slept through the day to complete my sleep. Fixed my sleep cycle like a few days prior to the exam because in exam hall you don't want to be sleepy, right? If you sleep during the day and you study during the night, a few weeks before the exam, you should start fixing your sleep schedule. Okay? I slept throughout the day. I woke up in like the evening, 4 5 ish. I woke up and then I ate whatever I had to eat, and then I studied throughout the night and I slept throughout the day. This was my routine and I used chandelier. It was pointed straightly to my study table. It was not a study table, it was like a coffee table that I used. The rest of the room was poorly lit. There was a kitchen in my room, but all like the kitchen was attached. I was studying the like a family room, but everything was perfect. Like the rest of the room was poorly lit, so there was no distractions. And the table that I was studying in, there was nothing on it. It was just my book and just a couple of the books, just a pen. There was just a clock in the room, and there was nothing else. There was a fridge, and in the fridge, there was no, I was not like I made a rule to myself that I'm not gonna open the fridge. So everything was perfect. Everything worked out perfectly. Okay. So I did sample papers that ensured that I knew all the answers before entering the exam hall. That's very important. You need to know every single answer before entering the exam hall. Uh, Sample papers are your best friend because in boards, what basically happens is last day papers get repeated and happens time and time again. CBSE will just take like a few years prior papers and they'll just be like this question, and they'll just jumble it up and give it to you. right? So prepare for you from your book definitely, but definitely I would say last 5 years sample papers or last 5 years actual board papers completely get them done. Okay, it's very important to do that. Okay. I didn't revise anything in school because that just caused me anxiety. I didn't find any value in it either because last minute revision doesn't stick with you anyway. It's not gonna stay in your long term memory. And even if you remember some of it and you just vomit it out, it may hinder the rest of the things that you're studying because it may get you anxious because you don't have a lot of time to remember that. And you're like, fuck, I didn't remember, I didn't do this particular concept or fact, and then you're like hurriedly remembering it, and that just causes anxiety and it builds up a lot of anxiety in you, and you may forget other things that you have remembered very properly. So I don't recommend reading or studying anything in your school. If you have to do sample reviews. I didn't talk to any of my friends because they were all like very anxious and they made me anxious. So I would stay away from them. I found principles to enhance efficiency and memory. These are the things that I all used. These are the things that you can implement as well and score 80.4%. That's a significant leap for me. If you already scored that marks, you might get to 100%. I don't know, but definitely you're going to score very good marks. And I repeated this process. As you know, I took a break in 11th class, and rightfully so, because I studied my ass off. Rightfully so, I took a break in 11th class, and in 12th, I scored 85%. When I repeated the same system, and I studied the same way, I scored 85% in 12th. So I think that's very good. My status completely changed. My friends were very different. Like after 11th, your friends group changed. My friends were now seeing me as the studious kid somehow. Um, I was no longer the weird kid that knew everything but didn't score good marks. So my life also changed a bit. My parents were not worried about me. They were not worried. They were like, marks दिया है, marks लेने तो उसको आते ही. Everything became very pleasant all of a sudden. So that is the only valuable thing I found in studying is that it changes people around you when you score good marks. Changes people around you, and that's a very pleasant experience. I would like for you to experience that as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I hope you found it valuable. If you did, please like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks so much.